Why Not? A queer podcast.
Thank you to our sponsor, Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning primary care clinic right here in Orlando.
Pineapple Healthcare offers mental health counseling, HIV, STI testing and treatment, and specializes in care for the LGBTQ plus community.
Open Monday through Saturday. Call today at 407-553-6336 and schedule your appointment.
Pineapple Healthcare. Better together.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams, and you're listening to Wine,
Why Not? A queer podcast.
episode 117.
I just had to look at my notes. I was like, oh, am I supposed to say a
And
queer
I
podcast?
am Rick today? Yes.
Today, the role of Rick will be portrayed by Rick. Before we jump into anything, I just want to say real quick, we just heard a recording from our sponsor, Pineapple Healthcare. Yes. And I just want to say a special thank you to Pineapple Healthcare because they just signed up to be our sponsor for another year.
Oh, congratulations.
Which is awesome.
To
We
us.
really appreciate them and we love what they do.
We do. I love them so much that I am seeing them in 2 weeks for another appointment.
And they are disproportionately hot.
That is true. They have, if you haven't been over to Pineapple, this should be the actual ad. If you haven't been over to Pineapple yet and you're single and looking for a husband, they have plenty of good ones to choose from.
Are they allowed to do that? Is that a thing?
Can you date your nurse and doctor? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I would imagine you can date your nurse.
The two guys who own and operate it, they're married, so, they're off the market, but I'm sure some of the other fellas over there and ladies are single.
Well, I just mean in all of the medical dramas that I watch, it's like, oh, you're my patient, I can't date you.
They just date each other.
And do they? Sometimes they date each other for minutes.
They do it when they should be saving your life. They're in the room next door doing it.
Yeah, you know what I learned from watching Grey's Anatomy is that the reason it takes so long in the ER is because they're all fucking. Your doctor will be along in 47 seconds. That's if I was the doctor.
I suspected as much every time I'm there. I'm like, it's taking them forever. They must be doing it next door.
So thank you, Pineapple Healthcare. Episode 117.
Yes.
I am sure that you have a cornucopia of facts for us about the number one.
You know what? I came in this morning. We should probably mention, just in case people listen to this and they feel we're a little off, we are doing this earlier in the day than we normally do, hence why I am drinking coffee. May or may not be spiked. I don't know. But we're shooting this earlier. So if we're a little off...
Oh, and we will be.
And we probably will
There's
be.
no if.
But when I came in this morning, I was like, oh, we're doing this first thing. So I looked up some things, and I was like, none of these I'm not going to find anything good. And then I found a couple of I thought were interesting.
Well, that's exciting.
So I'll throw them to you, and you let me know if you think they're interesting. So it's 117. The first one I got is in 1920 on 117, January 17th. Prohibition started in the United States.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So this is sort of a celebration of no one in the country being allowed to drink.
Do you know that Prohibition started 9 years ago for me?
On 117?
No.
No? I don't know.
Oh,
maybe?
No.
No.
It was 10-1.
What a coincidence if it would have been 117.
That would be weird.
That would have been weird.
I might have to believe in something spiritual.
Speaking of which, Psalms 117 is the exact middle chapter of the King James Bible. So for all you religious folks who celebrated Easter this weekend, 117 is your halfway point. If you're at that Psalms, you're halfway through the book.
I would like for you to call it Psalms.
Psalms.
Do you remember when we went to that thing where we were... Oh, this cracks me up. Where we were speaking in front of the group of Indian people who came over, and the girl that was hosting it, who invited us to be there. She's delightful. I know her, outside of all of this, but she wasn't aware of PFLAG, and so she had invited the people from PFLAG, but she kept introducing them as PFLAG. It just cracks me up.
That is that's always fun to do because they invite a bunch of journalists from another country.
Yes.
Sometimes I think the last one we did was from a country that's not very receptive to LGBTQ news. So it's fun to kind of talk about what we do and how it differs from what they're trying to do over there. But that first one, it was really awkward because it was the first one we had done.
Yes.
And I was unsure of what, and I think you too, a little bit, on what was expected of us when we got there. So we were like deer in headlights, but I feel like we settled in pretty nicely.
My second favorite part of that was when somebody asked you a question. Oh, wait, this is the second one. Somebody asked you a question and you had no idea what she said.
Some of them had very thick accents. Yes.
You just started answering. And you just made some shit up. And then you were looking at me like, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
It's
a question.
very much like back in what seemed like happier times, Trump and Biden's first debate this past election cycle. That's how I felt up there. I felt like Joe Biden just be like, and then things came full circle, and
in an odd full circle moment.
Yeah.
We next year will be going to India so that they can tell us how they work with an oppressive regime.
Fantastic. I love that.
I'm looking forward to that advice.
It should be a good time.
I'm just kidding. We'll all be dead by then.
We're not allowed to leave the country unless it's to El Salvador, which is where they will be sending us all. Well, not all of us.
You
just
know,
the
this
gays.
can't be real, right? We do this thing like we should do a segment of the show that's like, was this real? Because I read this on the Facebooks.
Sure.
Somebody said that if you say like that Pam Bondi said, if you say fuck Trump, you'll spend 15 years in El Salvador. That can't be true.
I can't. You know what? That's the world we live in now, where I don't know if that's true or not. Is it legal? No. Did she say it? Maybe.
Now,
it sounds like something she'd say.
Now, if I say fuck Trump, but in the context of if you say fuck Trump, you get 15 years. Am I up to 45 years in El Salvador right now?
Yeah, because you get a year for each fuck Trump you say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just keep tally. They are.
Did you hear, like, is there, this is not the point of this podcast, but somebody was explaining to me, like, how this gay makeup artist, hairdresser who ended up in El Salvador, somebody was telling me that there's a point system that they use. And if you get 8 points, then you just go. They send you. They round you up. Has anybody heard this?
No.
Am I making this? Well, this is what he told me. It could be true. It could not be true. I mean, he does work for a news source and does research. So I hope that what he is saying is true. But he told me that a tattoo, instant 4 points.
Really?
Yes.
I do know that the big emphasis was the hairdresser who was sent had 2 crown tattoos, one over the word mom, one over the word dad. And that was a big reason of why they picked him up.
But it could have just been a king daddy.
It had to do with honors to his mom and dad.
Yeah.
That they're the king and queen of his life.
Right.
But they saw crowns. They're like, that's got to be do you remember gang activity right there.
Do you remember those Crown air fresheners that would sit like in the front of unmarked cabs?
Oh,
are those people in El Salvador? So that was one thing. And then another was that if you were a Facebook friend with anyone who in any way had a connection. So say you had a friend that you were friends with and their third cousin had been arrested on some gang-related robbery, then that's 4 points for you. So just people who are friends with people you may not even know, and boom, you're gone. So
I'll look into this after this podcast because that all sounds unrealistic. But so much of what's been happening over the last couple of months seems unrealistic, and it's actually happening. So
if it's not true, then you need to talk to your staff.
Oh, this was in-house.
Yeah.
I assumed you were talking to somebody in the community who also does journalism. I don't think that's a word. But it's in-house. I know who you're speaking of. I will have a conversation with you.
Which also reminds me that we kind of made a mistake. And we forgot to invite Luis into our little group chat today. So we'll just have to catch him up.
Yeah. He's busy anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Got a couple of 117s.
Doing more research
before we get
on what gets you in El Salvador, apparently.
Before we get way off of subject, I have 2 more 117s I thought were interesting. The 117th Congress convened on January 3rd, 2021. And if that date vaguely rings a bell, it's because it was 3 days before the January 6th insurrection. So the 117th Congress is the one that was held up in the state capitol as thousands of...
You mean the Freedom Parade?
MAGA supporters attacked the building. Did you watch The Last of Us last night?
No, I haven't seen. So it's 2 episodes in, right?
Yep, 2 episodes in.
Are they
There's
good?
a scene with the I was gonna say walkers, but that's a different show. The zombie-like fungi folk, where
Sounds
they're
like
all
Party.
rushing Jackson, and it looked like the scene from January 6th.
You think it was on purpose? Were they shitting on
Either
their
that
desk?
or just a crowd of people running for a building and trying to break in just triggers me.
I
But
don't
it
mean
was
to
good.
laugh at that.
I need you to.
You're triggered.
I need you to catch up on the show because we need to talk.
Are you one of the lunatic leftists that Donald Trump is saying Happy Easter to?
Absolutely. I read that. There's another thing I read
that
this
real?
morning, and I had to go. I don't know if I told you this, but a couple of months ago, I signed up for an account on Truth Social just so I could go in and verify if all these memes and pictures that people are sharing are actual things he posted. And yeah, that is an actual thing he posted. His Happy Easter message, even to the lunatic lefties. And
It's almost like he's just channeling Jesus, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right.
I
Like he could write a psalm about it.
I felt like I was watching The Passion of the Christ reading that. It was amazing. And then the other interesting fact I read, according to the Population Reference Bureau in Washington, D.C., since the beginning of time, there has roughly been 117 billion members of the human species born onto this planet.
Really?
Yeah. So there's your 117 facts.
Do you think we'll make it to 118?
Oh, I bet we're at 115 right now. We probably lost 2 billion in since this study was taken.
Oh, that's true. Oh, you mean currently living?
No.
Oh, you just mean born.
Just being born.
Yeah.
No, there's not 117 people on this planet right now. But since the beginning
Just feels
of time,
like it sometimes.
there's been they've estimated 117 billion people have been born since
You know
the
where
beginning
it
of time.
doesn't feel like that? At the mall down the street.
I'm telling you, people are like, "Oh, my city's too crowded." Go buy some space at the Fashion Square Mall because there is plenty of space to live there. They should. Have you seen that? Like a lot of malls in the Midwest have been turned into housing, like an indoor housing project, where all the different stores were turned into little mini homes.
See, now I would totally do that if the food court was still there. And if the movie theater was still there. You know how cool it would be to like live in a mall if it was a thriving mall? That'd be nice.
So I don't know if anybody who has any pull at Fashion Square listens.
Yeah, well, or I found I found what I'm going to do in my golden years.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my God! Speaking of, can I tell you this? So Jen's mom has been staying with us.
Yeah,
and we were watching some show where somebody said something about like, oh, you know, I'm supposed to be doing this, and in my golden years, I didn't want to be doing this or blah blah blah. And she's sitting there on the chair, and she goes, "There are no golden years."
Good Lord.
Like, oh my God. She's probably like, this is my golden years. I'm sitting here in my daughter's house at this rat infested attic.
As you get older, you just, you reach that point where you're like, this.
Yeah. Right. Yes, I'm right there with you. You sit there and you like, I used to say this all the time, right? Because there were several nights in college, and I'm sure anybody who's been to college has experienced this, when you procrastinate and then you have a huge project due the next day, and it's huge. So you just stay up all night. I mean, my friends and I would go to it was always some theater project that we'd have something to do, and we'd all go down to the theater department, and we would just all night long read and help each other and that sort of thing. And then I would get caught in a situation later in life. And I'm like, no, this is not what I stayed up all night in college to get a good grade and all this shit to do this right now.
Yeah.
And so I imagine like sometimes you might get, you could be 80 years old looking around at your house and being like, this?
Yeah. I mean, my Aunt Martha, my grandmother's sister, she's in her 90s now. And I haven't seen her in a while, actually. I should probably check in on her. But when I did see her the last time I saw her, she was very much of that mindset of, I've done what I need to do here. It's time for me to go. And it's not like suicidal, I'm going to off myself, but she's like, okay, God, my sisters are dead. I'm the last one of that generation. It's time. And she just knows that she's done everything she was going to do on Earth. She's not running for president. She's not looking for a Pacific crew. She's just like, I've done what I want to do. Which is sad when you're younger and you're like, no, Aunt Martha, come on.
Oh, but when you're 50, hearing that is gold. Like,
Yeah.
I love hearing people say that because I always wonder. Like, right now, I'm like, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But I would like to, like, later in life, not be
Feel
petrified
like
of
you,
it.
yeah,
Just
like
feel
you did
oh,
what
okay.
you did, and you're not scared about it coming or
Yeah.
you going. But yeah, so little happy Easter story for you all. Do you have any 117s?
Happy Easter. Everyone's going to die. But it's true. Everybody is.
Yeah, it's true.
Hopefully not today.
Whether they have already or will, all 117 billion lives will go.
Well, I have my usual facts, the exciting ones.
Of course.
From Cinema Archive. So the 117th best film of all time, I'm sure you've watched this 100 times. I'm not even going to let you guess because it's that easy.
Okay.
La Ventura. From the director was Antonioni. That's just fun to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun pasta you
yeah.
buy in a can.
Is there any? Oh yeah, you do buy pasta in a can.
Yeah,
Ravioli.
Chef Boyardee.
Chef Boyardee.
Yeah.
That was some good stuff.
It was.
It's 1960.
Little tidbit about me. When I was in the military,
I was Chef Boyardee.
I went through this phase where I loved eating that stuff room temperature. So I would just pop the top off, wouldn't even eat it, and eat it out of the can like I was a hobo. Yeah.
Yeah. See, yeah. I'm a weird person, I think. Okay, show of hands from the studio audience. Who will eat cold pizza?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely love cold pizza.
Yeah, no. So as things need to be heated, so I won't eat Chef Boyardee out of a can. I probably did at some point, but there's a lot of I ate a lot of things that were terrible. What's the grossest thing you ever ate? Do you know? Oh God, please.
Jonathan.
I was gonna say, don't give me a name. I'm not asking for a body part or a name. I'm asking for a food. And by the way, Jonathan, I know you're listening. It couldn't have been that bad.
It was fine.
Next time, take a shower, Jonathan.
I specifically picked the name Jonathan because, and I apologize if you are listening, to my recollection, I don't ever remember being with a Jonathan.
Oh,
But if I have,
oh my God!
sorry I didn't get your
Somewhere
name.
Jonathan is crying into a framed photo of you. He doesn't even remember me.
I don't remember the name, but I remember the face. I'll always love you,
Is that
Jonathan.
because you ate it?
Oh.
No, what's the worst thing you ever ate?
I'm sure it was something with beets in it. I hate beets.
Beets taste like earth.
Yeah, they're disgusting.
And not in
I
a
hate
good way.
beets. I love getting from Little Greek, the Greek salad, and I mistakenly once forgot them to tell them to leave the beets off. And even pulling them off, that red dye from it seeps into the salad, and it grossed me out having to eat that.
So when they went to hand it to you, you didn't look at them and say, turn the beets around.
No, it was DoorDashed, and they don't talk to you anymore. They just drop it and go.
Somewhere in our listening audience, someone's laughing at that thing. It's a Gloria Estefan
Oh,
song.
no, I got it.
It was funny. And I want to see everybody writing down, and we're making a video of that thing, and we're going to see who finds it fucking funny, all right? So when I was a child, I loved boiled eggs.
Okay.
I also loved brown sugar. And so one day, I decided to combine boiled eggs and brown sugar.
How'd
and
that work
just
out for you?
eat them. Let me ask you this question: when you get indigestion, right? You get indigestion, you burp a little bit. That taste in your mouth,
Ugh.
that's boiled eggs and brown sugar, and it's so. And I don't know if that's what it tastes like for everybody, or if my stomach is just every once in a while saying, screw you. Remember that time you did this to me? Taste it again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
The nastiest thing I've ever eaten. Oh.
I mean, I'm sure there's some concoctions out there.
And I
On
dated
a drunken,
Jeffrey. No,
on
I'm
a
just kidding.
drunken night that I mixed something up in the kitchen. I was like, I'm hungry. We're going to make this. Yeah. But I mean, anything with beets right off the bat are disgusting.
Yes, 100%.
You know what's funny is I love hard-boiled eggs now. When I was a kid, hated them. Hated the smell of them. Hated the taste of them. Just couldn't stand them.
Have you had a soft-boiled egg? Are you familiar with this?
Into my adult years, yes, I have had a soft-boiled egg.
I eat them all the time.
They're quite lovely.
I've worked my way to a 6-minute thing, and I think I only did it to impress Dylan's uncle. Which is, I went to his house and he was making soft-boiled eggs because it's something that his father did for them, and he was in this reminiscent period, and so he was making them, and he goes, "How long do you want me to boil your soft-boiled egg for?" And I said 9 minutes, and he goes, "No." He goes, "It's a hard-boiled egg, no." And so he's like, I'll do 7, and I was like, because I don't want the thing to be running.
Time it?
Yeah, I mean, because it's varying degrees. So I figured this out. If you boil it at 6 minutes, then the white will be completely cooked and the middle will not be.
Do you know how I get my soft-boiled eggs? I purchased this little gadget. It's red and it's the shape of an egg. You put it in your boiling water with your eggs, and it has hash marks on it, and it says soft, medium, and hard. And it's bright red, and then it gets darker red as it moves in, and you just pull the eggs off when it reaches the hash line that you want. Perfect eggs every time.
That's weird because I have condoms like that. I'm just kidding.
Perfect.
I'm just kidding.
Condoms
I don't
every
have
time.
condoms.
Well, then I hope you're going to Pineapple Healthcare once a month to get checked.
I hope I'm not. What the fuck's my husband up to if I am?
You never know. I mean, you can get some things from a toilet seat.
Oh my God, I've got to go. I got to call my husband real fast. He knows I'm busy right now recording a podcast.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your husband's at?
Oh, that's funny. All right, La Ventura by
yes.
Antonioni Baroni. No, Antonioni. 1960
Wait a minute,
film.
isn't that a line from Rent? In the
Oh my God, Antonioni.
Antonioni Baroni.
Baroni. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I
That's
just
where
thought
it's
they were
from.
making up sounds. Blah, blah, blah,
There you
blah,
go.
blah, blah.
By the
La
end
Vie
of these
Boheme.
podcasts, we will finally know all of the lyrics and what they mean from
know.
La Boheme.
Do you know that every time somebody says the name BD Wong, I always go BD Wong, and people think that I'm being look your
Sure.
face right there.
I'm actually surprised you did that on camera.
Yeah, your face right there. But that's the line in Rent. They're singing some song and they make a noise and they do that.
I guess that's okay.
They're just singing his name. What's the
Yeah.
Anyway, so that film is about the disappearance of a young woman during a boating trip in the Mediterranean,
Sounds
which
like a
is
hit.
not the life story of Natalie Wood, because it involves the subsequent search for her by her lover, and I don't think that Natalie Wood's friends looked for her.
Do you know who was on the boat?
Yes, a young Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken and Robert
then
Wagner,
and
yeah.
then the Heart to Heart guy.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Heart to Heart?
Back in the day, I've seen an episode here or there. I wasn't like a huge fan, but
I've always been fascinated with shows where like that kind of show.
yeah. You know what show I was into in the 80s? Remington Steele. Loved Remington
They
Steele.
do good work with their razors,
They sure do.
electric razors.
Most people remember that because James Bond was on it, Pierce Brosnan. But it also had Doris Roberts.
I don't. It's so funny because we have a new person in our studio audience who's taking notes. But in my mind, she's just texting her friends like, "Oh my God, this sucks so much. I can't believe I have to be in here."
This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's
I
not worth.
told him I'd stay a few extra weeks, but today
Yeah.
is my last
It is-
day.
It's not worth the stipend. Run. All right. So anyway, that's the film. 117th director directed War and Peace like in 1930 something. If that does anything for you.
Charlie Chaplin.
His royalty, I think.
Buster
no, he's not.
Keaton.
King. Oh, look at that. It's stuck.
King Philip.
King Vidor.
Oh yes, King Vidor.
You know, of the Vidor.
How
the
has
Vidors
he?
of Sweden.
How has he been?
I wrote down War and Peace. He apparently did a lot of films. He did do this. He directed the Kansas scenes in The Wizard of Oz, but he wasn't credited for it.
Oh, I don't know the exact number, so this is probably an exaggeration, but there was like 9 directors that worked on Wizard of
really?
Oz, and only one of them got credit.
Really?
Yeah. Google it. Back then, they didn't give a shit if you worked on a
You
film.
said that like somebody didn't believe you. You're like,
Someone in the
Google it.
studio audience was shaking their head at me.
Good times. All right, so that's what I got. That's 117 for me.
Very nice. Quick Google search. 4. Sorry, I did exaggerate. 4 directors worked on.
Wizard of
Oh,
Oz.
King Vidor was one of them. Look at that. Victor Fleming, Norman Taurog, and Richard Thorpe, and George Cucker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5.
Oh, wow.
That's
Keep reading. You'll find 4 more.
5 directors.
Well, very nice.
No, Norman was
I mean, it was a
to
big
the
project that needed the extra help.
Adventures of Tom Sawyer, because apparently he wasn't good enough for The Wizard of Oz.
Ironically, 9 hours of Avatar, 1 director.
It's true. It's true.
That was
But
on
that's
yesterday.
That's James Cameron.
I got caught watching that.
He's a beast of a man. He don't need no help.
The first one happened, and then the second one was coming out. I was like, no. This will end on Tuesday. We can't.
Yeah.
Especially with
The
commercials.
third one comes out in December. You excited?
I mean, I like them.
Yeah.
I did go back. Have you watched the first one recently?
No, I haven't.
I don't know if it's just the mood I've been in lately, but I was just like, it's forced emotion, and I
Yeah.
just rolled my eyes a lot.
I know that they're huge films. They're like the biggest films ever, and people love them. But for the most part, I won't say all of his films, but for the most part, you don't watch James Cameron films for the story. You watch him for the spectacle. The story is very derivative. It's been done before. It's not, I mean, he's not like a great screenplay writer, but he can put together some fantastic visuals.
You know, like here's the scene that did it for me. It's you don't watch reality TV, but you kind of do.
Not
You
a
watch
whole
The
lot.
Circle.
Yeah.
And you know, like when people the first episode when they go into their rooms and they're like, "Oh my god, I got a stove. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a bedroom, and oh my god, there's the TV." And like that's all that annoying stuff. It's like Big Brother when they all walk into the house and they're like,
I can't believe I'm here.
So that's like
you can't believe you're here. You applied, stupid.
You interviewed, and they gave
That's
you a
like
key.
us coming into work every day and be like, I can't believe we're here. Well, yeah, you can because you fucking
Oh my
chose
God.
to come here.
You just gave me an idea. I'm going to do that.
Are you?
I'm going to do that one day. I'm just going to walk into the office and be like, oh my God, the copier, the podcast room. Oh, is this on? So anyway, it was the scene where like they let him into the inner circle thing and he saw the tree or something and
Yeah.
he just stood on this thing and his shoulders were back and he's like, oh, like, bleh.
Yeah. It's all over the top.
Also, they were swimming in the water. It wasn't the way of water, but they were swimming in it.
Sure.
And I was just like, I would never swim in that water. I wouldn't swim in water that lights up like that. What makes it light up like that?
Faith.
Oh,
I have no idea.
it's funny that you say that because I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Faith.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the movies. I think that they're great for what they are, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The stories are very so-so.
Yeah, and then they're like, he gets this look on his face, and then they play this music in the background that's like, you should feel like this is awesome. I'd like to
Now, I
watch
will
it
say-
without sound, and he just looks stupid.
For movies that I'm not a huge fan of, I will only go see those in theaters, though,
Yeah.
because they are the type of film that you have to see on a giant screen and in 3D. I don't even like 3D films, but those
don't
work
either.
really well in 3D.
Do you think like 3D films make everything look smaller?
It pushes it
Yeah.
back, so some of it makes it smaller, but
Yeah.
because so much of it is in, well, I don't know about the third one because I think the third
I
one has
saw-
to do with fire.
I saw Boogie Nights in 3D, and I was like, what's everybody talking about? I was like, this big.
But with the water and the flying in the first one, looks amazing in 3D.
Somebody at home is like, that was never in 3D. No, it wasn't. It was a joke.
Actually,
Actually.
in the 90s, 3D
They
was
only
a
had
dead
2D
science.
at that time. Hey, if that's you, thanks for listening. Everybody appreciates a know-it-all. So anyway, how was your week?
It was an interesting week. It was very uneventful.
I find that usually when people say that, that is not the case.
No. Interesting in the fact that I didn't get to do a whole lot because, when we came back from the cruise, I talked with my mom and I talked to my sister. Both of them got sick when they got back from the cruise. And I talked on the phone and they were like, are you feeling sick? And I was like, no, I got vaccinated. I was paranoid. So I got like 9 vaccines before I went on the cruise. So I was like, I'm doing fine. Then
Was it really 5?
It was actually 5. Yeah. Actually, if we're being honest, it was only 3, but still. So I was like, oh, I don't get sick now because I'm heavily vaccinated. And then this past weekend, I got sick. So I didn't do anything for Easter weekend except lay around and watch like 400 episodes of Seinfeld because the last thing we talked about on the podcast was from Netflix. So I had to re-up my Netflix. So I was like, oh, let's see what Netflix has. And I watched a bunch of Seinfeld.
It's a good show.
It is. Great show.
Does it hold up for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Better now. I think I was too young back then. I liked it back then, but now I watch it and I was like, I'm older than all of these people, and I totally agree with all of them. People suck.
I was when it was like in its prime, right?
Yeah.
I was working at SeaWorld, and there's this area of SeaWorld called Key West, and in the trailer behind the scenes is where like a lot of the characters were, and the band that played in Key West and all that.
Yeah.
And when you work in any of those departments, you like work for like 20, 25 minutes out of an hour, and the rest of the time you're just sitting around in that room. It's a pretty good gig. But all we would talk about is like, oh my God, did you watch Seinfeld last night?
Yeah.
And talk forever about a 30-minute show about nothing.
Yeah. And because, it wasn't, you didn't have streaming back then. So you had to talk about it, because if you didn't see it, then you had to get it from other people.
Yeah.
Or wait for reruns through the summer. Which on NBC, their tagline, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you. I was there. Yeah, in the 90s during their summer hiatus, when they do their Thursday night lineup, they're like, do you remember this from Seinfeld or this from Friends? If you haven't seen it, it's new to you.
Wow.
Yeah. Most of my 90s were spent watching TV, so I know all the taglines. But aside from that, when I wasn't, because it was mostly sinus issues I was having that I was sick from.
To me, that just means you had COVID. Every time somebody says it's just sinuses, don't worry, it's just no, it was COVID.
That's one of the
now
vaccines.
We all have it.
That's one of the vaccines I had. It's impossible. I believe in science. But
really, let me go to the COVID-19 website right now and see if that's true. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Anyway.
I avoided it, and
I'm 1 point away from going to El Salvador right now.
Fauci, I have his action figure on my table, on my desk, and I occasionally look at him and be like, can you believe this shit? Can you believe he's going to arrest you?
Does he talk back?
He said, shh, don't tell him I'm here, Jeremy.
Let me out.
But I think we all go through this point in our lives where we look around and we just see that we have way too much shit. So I went through one of those phases. So I'm going to have a yard sale in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's exciting.
So when I wasn't all stuffed up and laying in my room with a, I was going to say a ventilator, but not a ventilator. What's the...
It was COVID.
What's the steam one? A humidifier. Thank you. With a humidifier going, I was pulling stuff out of the closet to see what I had to sell. And I have a lot of random shit that I don't use, like kitchen gadgets and Funko Pops and action figures. If you all have kids or you are a grown adult who loves toys, I have so many toys that will be on sale at my yard sale May 3rd. So come on out. I'll put a Facebook event up this week.
Something's going on May 3rd. Oh, I can't come to your garage sale.
Why?
Jen and I are going to Epic.
My yard sale starts at 7 a.m. Swing by on your way.
Jen and I have been...
I'll give you a good discount.
Got any good toys for Epic? Jen and I have been friends for a very long time. And I feel like... I think she's done with me, and to her respect, because she watches like a lot of YouTube videos. She's really into this, and I went to Epic. Granted, some of the things, like a countertop.
Some of the things were granite. Some were other stones.
That means they're hard to hear.
Some
man.
were plastic.
No, I am the son of my mother who says the wrong things all the time. The Pacific Ocean.
Oh,
the Pacific Ocean.
That is the specific ocean that we're talking about.
So anyway, like I went there and it was cool and it's beautiful. But she's watching these videos and she's like, she'll be like, oh, they said the werewolf ride is like the coolest ride ever. And I was like, I don't know. I saw it going.
Yeah.
And then and she's like, I think I want to go there for my birthday. And I was like, well, why don't you go there the first time and then make sure that it's something that you really like. And then we'll buy tickets to go the second time. And she's like, oh no, you need like 4 days to go through everything. And I'm like, I did it in 3 hours. and then she's like, so I think she was over me.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, the thing with with either movie themed rides or like lands that are themed like that in Islands of Adventure. I think it depends if that's your shtick. So like if you're into How to Train Your Dragon, that's probably the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life, is that come to life. And same thing with like Universal Monsters. If that isn't your shtick and you don't like that stuff, then it's like, oh, okay, well, you did a fine job.
You're right. And you want to get me? Then you will do a theme park that is 5 islands based on Broadway musicals. And I will be all over it.
You would not stop talking about that. You would go see it on when it opened. You'd do all your birthdays
It'd
there.
be like that Miss Saigon helicopter ride where you're like trying to get onto the helicopter and then you're getting away and people are shooting at you.
They could do the updated Sunset Boulevard where it's nothing and just like nothing, and you just walk
You have
around
to take your shoes
stage.
off to ride it and put on a black slip. And the only way to get out is to do the Cabbage Patch. That'd be Sunset Boulevard.
I don't know if you know the Variety, the magazine,
Yes.
does the Actors on Actors series. They just announced because the Tonys are coming up, they're doing a Broadway themed one. And she is going to be talking, the one who starred in Sunset Boulevard, Nicole, whatever. her name is. Yeah. She's going to be doing an interview with Jonathan Groff. They're going to be talking. Yeah. But they released a whole series of Actors on Actors where they each interview each other.
Oh.
And I was like, I wonder what they're going to talk about. But they don't seem like
that would
they're
have
in
been
the
really
same
exciting
wheelhouse.
until, I mean, that would, anything with Jonathan Groff, I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
He's stunning. Meh.
Yeah. George Clooney and Patti LuPone are going to talk. And that's another.
going to be good.
I'm like, what are you two going to talk about? I just feel like they're just two very, but maybe that's what makes for a good interview.
I guess so.
Anyway,
I mean, yeah.
It's just something to look forward to that should be coming out. Tony nominations should be coming out here in the next couple of weeks too.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So it should be very interesting to see.
My favorite of the Tonys.
To see.
Tony Danza's a close second.
That's smart. It's wicked smart.
Wicked smart. Jen and I were listening to the podcast the other day, and it was the Brokeback Mountain one, and it was you pretending to be Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, and being like, Matt, stop, that wicked hurts.
The only other thing I want to mention last week is we've got Fabiana, our intern here. She's our only intern now. The other ones wrapped up last week. And
they graduated.
This is not, I'm not saying this because this is a bar I expect Fabiana to exceed, but I do want to give a shout out to our intern Christopher last week because I know that college kids, you ain't got a lot of money, you're just scraping by, but he brought me coffee creamer for the last day, a bottle of coffee creamer. And it was my favorite coffee creamer. And I was like, how does he know my favorite coffee creamer? And it's because I made mention of it in one of these podcasts. We were talking about when we went and saw Cabaret.
Oh, really?
And I said, I got a coffee there. Remember I said they had the little cups of my favorite Italian sweet cream? And I said that I love Orlando Shakes because they had my favorite creamer. He showed up on his last day with a full thing of my favorite creamer as a thank you. And I was like, that's just, like little things like that really stick with me.
Yeah.
So
that's really nice.
If any other interns want to be remembered,
it's not like he goes home and listens to the podcast. He was sitting in the room and he heard it, but it's still nice.
But to make note of that, like if I had, before I told you that story, if I had said, "Do you know my favorite coffee creamer?" Would you have known?
No.
Yeah. See.
I mean, I get paid to listen to you.
And he listened, and that was very sweet. Along with the Italian sweet cream, I also take Splenda in my coffee.
And my favorite car is an Audi.
But I just wanted to give a shout out. All of the interns were great this semester. Very sad to see them go. It'll be very sad to see Fabiana go. She's sticking with us through the end of the month. But yeah, so less studio audiences coming up here after a few weeks.
We'll pay somebody to come in and sit.
Speaking of paying,
we're not going to pay anybody.
How was your week? Did you do anything fun?
My week was, I guess I did. I feel like it was more eventful than yours.
Yeah.
But not that it's a competition.
This was not a bad week to beat me.
I know, right? I could have watched a different show than Seinfeld and been like,
you could have watched a new show and you'd have been one up.
Dylan and I went it wasn't for Easter because, not everybody in the world is Jewish. It's just everybody involved in this conversation. So we went to Boca to see his aunt and uncle who live in upstate New York, or just a little bit outside of the city. And they come down for the winter and spend, months in the sun. And so we went to visit them, and it was really cool. We did different things. It's like
They live in Boca?
well, they have an apartment there, or like a condo.
That's where Jerry's parents are from.
Oh, Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, his
oh my God,
parents
and they're
moved
Jewish.
to Boca, and they're Jewish.
I wonder if they
moved
live
from
in
New
this
York.
place.
It just we did the exact same thing this weekend. I just watched mine on TV.
I feel. You know what we. Yeah, I can see it. I'll show you their photos.
Okay.
And then but you probably met them at the wedding.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
So it's cool. We've been there a couple of times, and I think you're running out of things to do there. So on the way there, Dylan looked up like the top things to do, and we had done like the top 5. So we picked some other things to do, and so it was nice.
Number 6.
We went to Gimbo Limbo. And I just wanted to tell you that because I like to say it.
What do they do at Gimbo Limbo?
No, Gumbo Limbo. Gumbo Limbo. Because I was like, ooh, is that like gumbo? And then we're going to do the limbo? And no, it's a tree.
It's
Gumbo
a
Limbo
tree?
is a tree. And it's this reserve, and we went there, and it's really nice. But I will point this out. Have you been to Boca before?
No.
You've been? Have you been to Boca? Okay. So the ocean in Boca is gorgeous. I didn't think that Florida water looked that nice. I thought Florida water was like just brown. And, because, Daytona's not beautiful, and that's in the Atlantic.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. I'm not talking about the city. I'm talking about the water.
No, I get you.
And the water in the Gulf of America isn't that pretty either. I'm just kidding. It's the Gulf of Mexico. Damn it. There's my 8 points. And so we were driving along, and I looked out, and the waves were crazy high. At least 10 feet.
Yeah.
That's kind of high, right? And it was just but it was gorgeous. So it was really nice.
I think just South Florida has, maybe it's the way that the jet stream comes in. Because when me and Chris went down to Miami Beach, the water was pristine. It was beautiful. Bright blue. Very different than, I can't remember the last time I was at Daytona. So I can't recall what their water looks like. But yeah, the Gulf water is very murky.
You ever watch somebody change the oil in your car, and like the old oil comes out? It's like a stream of
I go to the
black
places where you
tar.
stay in the car, so I just feel them.
Oh. Well, if you ever
just feel them.
If you ever
there.
watch that, that's what the waves in Daytona look like.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Daytona, you're wonderful. What if all of our listeners were in Daytona and they're like, "Fuck them"?
They know. they agree with us. We get it.
I get it, yeah. So that was pretty much that was the
Did
weekend.
you see any Grandes down there? Ariana Grande's family is from Boca.
No, and if I did, I probably would have blocked that out of my memory.
Oh, all right.
Renee Taylor's awesome.
I'm not a huge fan of. Do you remember when her brother showed up at that award show and he was like no shirt, but he had his body painted like he was wearing a shirt?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, vaguely. I don't.
I think he just put an album out too, or he's got an album coming out. Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
he's hitting the pop scene.
Really?
He's like, yeah, Ariana. You've had your time to shine. Now it's Frankie's time.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Actually, they're very close, as I
I
understand.
feel like when they make the jukebox musical about Ariana Grande's life, it's going to be a sad, tragic tale of her older brother.
Oh, I'm sure they'll be fine.
Nah.
I'm pulling for those crazy kids.
Nah, I mean, she'll be fine. And so will he, because he'll live off of her.
God, I wish one of my siblings did something so I could live off of them.
Mine did.
Yours did?
Yeah. Then she died.
Oh, sorry.
She was real smart. She made a lot of money. She was like, I think I've talked about this before. She was like she was on Amazon's team, right? Like when they branched away from books, and she set up the very first online store for them that was outside of books. I mean, if she had stayed there and was alive today, she'd
have been going up to space last week.
She would have been up in space. Oh my God. Those memes.
Okay,
They're
first of all,
I mean, they probably all went, and then it was all female. It's probably a thing, and it's probably real. But did you see the thing about the door?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so all that was is somebody screwed up the PR moment. That's all that was.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted him to look
Bezos,
like
he wanted to be
and
the
they were
big
just like,
moment.
oh, we're here.
You know it was Katy Perry. You know she reached for that doorknob. She's like, get me out of here.
Or it was Gail. Did you see the video of like ringing the bell? And it's like they were all ringing the bell on their way into the thing, and the caption of the video said, "The way I act when my friends invite me to a straight bar," and everybody's like ringing the bell excited, and Gail just walks up and is like, "Ding ding." Oh, it's so funny.
Her smugness when she got back. Because people were like, well, you didn't really go up to space. Which, yes, okay, they went up to space. You know, technically they went over the line. But just her smugness of, have you ever been to space? And I have a rich friend named Oprah, and that's how she arranged this. And just the smugness made me think, you know what? No more. I'm not watching it anymore, Gail.
I don't want to. I don't want to cry misogyny or anything like that, but I just remember when William Shatner went to space, everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" Like this Star Trek guy went to space, and he comes down and he talks about this how incredibly life altering it was, and everybody's like, "That's really cool." And he took the same ride these ladies took, but everybody's like, that was fake. And they're like, but it's funny. What cracks me up about them is that people are saying like those astronauts that were caught in space for 9 months are rolling their eyes when she's like, they're like, girl, you were gone 4 minutes.
I think that's the difference, because never once did William Shatner say, I am now an astronaut. And Gail was out there. She's like, I'm more an astronaut than you. Listen, we get that you rode on a billionaire's dime, and it just somebody had commented on X or Twitter, which I just thought was kind of spoke to it, where they said it's her let them eat cake moment. It's like with all this shit going on, and then you come down and be like, I am an astronaut now. No one gives a fuck.
Well, good
you
thing
rich people want to go fly to space while the Earth is burning? Fine. Just stop acting like you saved the fucking planet.
Well, it's a good thing nothing happened to the thing, because rather than calling her an astronaut, people would be saying, baby, you're a firework. I've been waiting 3 minutes to get stupid.
And then the fucking kissing of the ground when she came out, it's like, get up. Get the fuck up, Katie. So stupid. Anyway, good for you girls going into space.
And then she does that. Have you ever seen her perfume commercial?
No.
Oh, that one makes me crazy.
I try not to watch commercials.
Okay, so we did. Then yesterday, like our big Easter plan was to do a nice solid for Jen and clean up. So you've been to the house, right? So we were like, we're gonna do yard work. That's all we're gonna like. It's nice. It's not blazing hot outside, so we're gonna get up early and we do yard work. And so we take like the big palm tree in the front yard. We prune that all up. But you know the hedge in front of the windows.
Yeah.
It's gotten to be.
Block the windows?
It completely blocks the windows. So we decided we were going to cut it like in half, or even more than in half. And so I guess logic would dictate this, but it didn't occur to me at the time. It's very difficult to do because you've got like branches and little twigs and stuff like that. So you can't just like take the hedge clippers and go across it, because you're going to hit big branches and things like that. So you kind of got a hedge clipper until you get to a point you can't, and then you know, those things. I do this because, like, the big scissors.
Do you have a chainsaw?
I mean, we do, but you would think that would be good. But no, all the chainsaw does is it pushes the branches, and then you cut them, and they come back up, and they're not the right height. And so it was a thing. Once we got it figured out, it went pretty quickly. But this is the thing I didn't think about. You know, the leaves that make the hedges pretty are only on the outside.
Yeah.
So when you cut at the top, now it just looks like just branches. Yeah. It's just all brown and branches.
Yeah, you gotta let it grow back
so we
up now.
But it looks great. We did that, but it was a lot of work. A lot of work. There was something like 13 like those hefty carpenter or contractor bags. Yeah. They had like 13 of those sitting at the side, and also these palms. So I almost, in clearing out the palm tree, the big palm. So when you do this, anybody who does this, if you try this at home, just know that in your palm tree live things like rats and
palmetto bugs.
And if where there are rats, there are snakes and wasp and all this
Bats.
stuff. So yeah, I discovered all that.
Wildebeest.
I cut down one thing and it fell, and I was like, "Oh my god, look at that! It's a snake skin that had been shed." And I was like, "Oh my god, isn't that crazy?" And then seconds later, of course, I don't know why I
snake.
didn't. There was a big fucking snake coming at me, and I did not. Jen asked me if it scared me, and I said it wasn't my most masculine moment
Sure.
that day. So we did all that. It was very fun. And then
It's hard to be masculine when you got a big snake coming at you.
spoken like a bottom. So then we had Easter dinner. Jen's sister came over and mom, and they made a thing, but I was like, I want ham. So I made ham and I didn't eat the other things.
I want ham.
Yeah. Easter ham. That was a thing, right? It was just they were making a pork loin. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then we watched American Idol, which I was surprised was on. And I just got to say, I've been a fan of American Idol for a long time. This just wasn't my show. Because I figured Easter it would be a
change the
rerun.
format?
No, they just and this is the first time they've ever done this. So I was going to ask this question if you've noticed that since, things have changed in America over the last couple of months, if you think that people are like there's this forced Christianity, I think that's hitting where places are like that wouldn't normally be closed on Easter were closed because they didn't want the backlash of like, oh, you're anti-Christian if you're open on Easter.
I think a part of that came after COVID, where all of our 24-hour things have still not gone back to 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Like driving by a Walmart at like 12:30 at night and not seeing it open still fucking irritates me.
I mean, I was there. We were there the other night, and it was like 11. Or no, it was like 10:40, and they were making announcements like, "Take your purchase front." I'm like, "It's early." So anyway, American Idol, the theme. I figured it would be like a collection of videos, but it was live, and the theme was faith. So it was a lot.
Who's the host now?
It's Ryan Seacrest.
Judges, I meant. Who's the
Oh,
judges?
it's and I think this might have something to do with it too. Carrie Underwood replaced
yes.
replaced it. So and then somebody sang a song that wasn't like a psalm. It was like a popular song that she goes, I wondered why you picked that song. Like, justify its faith to me now.
Tell me where you talk
heathen.
about Jesus in
And
it.
they're like, it sounded like a conversation with God. And then she was like, that's beautiful. It was just a lot of that.
Yeah.
But there are some, I mean, look, I totally get into church music, totally. But just, it was 3 hours long.
I will admit, when Jesus Takes the Wheel came out, I dug it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good song. I like
There's
it. There's no joke to follow up with that. I just really like
it's a
that
good song.
Yeah.
It's a good song. And actually, not to be a nerd about American Idol, but there was, I don't know what season it was, but Danny Goki got second place. It's the season that, do you watch American Idol? No, it's too bad. He got second place to Christine Bowersox or something. Anyway, he put out a version of Jesus Take the Wheel, which was so good. And I loved it. So I love that song. Yeah. And Luke Bryan sang in a new song that he had. I talked to Jesus about my kids. And it's this whole song about how he used to talk to his kids about Jesus, but now he talks to Jesus about his kids because he is concerned about them all the time, blah, 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 blah. Good song.
I bet parents eat that shit up. I bet they fucking love that song.
Look, on Easter, and like people were just like, yeah.
You know what song my mother loves?
I can't go to Publix, but I'll sit here and watch this, and this is...
She wants it played at her funeral,
Jesus.
is I Hope You Dance from Leanne Womack. Mm-hmm. That song's... The parents just love like a good country song about, advice to the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good. But that's what I did.
Yeah.
That was my week. I mean,
Nice.
there's one other thing I did.
What else did you do?
But you didn't do this week because you did this a couple weeks ago. So last week on the podcast,
went to the
or
movies.
2 weeks ago at the podcast, you mentioned that you had seen this movie called A Nice Indian Boy.
A Nice Indian Boy.
And you said it was really good. And I
Really
said,
good.
I'm going to go see it. But the thing about this movie is that
It's an independent film.
It's an independent film, but it's not like, Brokeback Mountain independent where it plays everywhere. It's playing at two theaters in our coverage area and very odd times. Like in Tampa, it played at the Veteran 24 Theater only at 12 and 5. And I think there were 2 showtimes at the place in Orlando. So it was just hard for me to find the right time and the right place. But last week, Dylan and I went to go see it. And so that's what we're going to talk about.
As you were pulling that up, I wanted to pull up on Box Office Mojo. A Nice Indian Boy is playing in 67 theaters across the country. 67 theaters. To line that up, a Minecraft movie is currently playing in 4,032 theaters. So a little harder to find.
Yeah,
but
it's
if
playing
you can,
in 67, and 65 of those are New York and LA.
Yeah. So
one in Tampa and one in Orlando.
We talked about this a couple of episodes ago, but me, Andreas, Gabrielle, and their friend Adrian all went and saw it down at Disney Springs, where is the only theater in Orlando that was playing it. I don't know why in my mind when I was seeing it, I wasn't thinking, oh, Rick will go see this and we'll talk about it on the podcast. So I watched it for the enjoyment of the movie and took no notes. So we're going to talk about the movie. You just saw it this past week, so it's probably a little fresher in your mind. I wrote notes this morning, all from memory, and reading a couple of reviews just to refresh scenes in my mind. I was like, oh, that's right. That was a good scene. I really enjoyed that one. So,
you know what would make this amazing is if you got it mixed up with something else and all of your notes were a totally different movie.
That would be weird. Now, saying that, I did do something this morning that I did not use, but I was like, because there's no kind of like synopsis of the movie online anywhere. Usually I'll go to Wikipedia.
I look for it too.
So I asked ChatGPT. I said, can you give me a scene-by-scene breakdown of the movie so I can remind myself of what I saw? It gave me it's the right movie and the right actors, but completely changed the story. And in the story, now just if this is accurate, then tell me, because maybe I fell asleep during this part of the movie. But in the notes, it says that he doesn't tell anyone he's gay, so he starts dating a woman. And then he introduces his family to this woman as his wife or as his fiance to make his parents happy. But on the side, he's dating Jonathan Groff. And I was like, I don't recall that at all.
No, that's the other movie with Bowen Yang.
No, that's where they get, where they arrange a marriage.
Where he tells his family he's with this woman because he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, his family knows he's gay the whole time. They just don't talk about it.
Yeah, they just don't talk about it. So I was like, and they also had the year wrong. ChatGPT. It was like, this movie came out in 2023, and I was like, it sure didn't. But it had all the right actors. But some of the story, like the beats, were all the same. But it's like they got a hold of an early draft that got changed when it was made into a movie, and ChatGPT didn't realize they had changed the whole movie. So that was no help. So
we don't know what we're gonna get. That's fine.
We'll get into it.
We'll Snopes it as we go.
Yeah, and we'll see. You tell me if I don't recall that, Jeremy, and I'll be like, all right, maybe I made that up. But A Nice Indian Boy is a 2024 movie.
That is correct, Jeremy.
Premiered last year at South by Southwest and was released on April 4th this year, where we went and saw it on opening weekend. Then you saw it this past week. Directed by Roshan Sethi, and written by Eric Randall and Madhuri Shekhar, who the latter wrote the original play that this film is based on. Maybe
it's based on a play?
Yes, maybe that's what ChatGPT was reading.
Oh, that's a sign of a good writer, because it didn't feel like it was a play.
Yeah.
Usually, like that one we saw with the guy who wanted to kill the guy that gave him AIDS. That felt like a staged play that they put a camera in front of.
Yeah.
This did not feel like that.
No, and I think what this benefited from in that aspect is the playwright worked with a screenwriter to convert the image or the thought of it on stage into a film. So I think that helped a lot. But just quick synopsis of the film. It stars Karan Soni, who y'all might know as the cab driver from the Deadpool movies. I forget his character's name in that one. Dopinder, I think is his name. But don't quote me on that. Now we begin with the fact checking, so you feel free to yell out I'm lying.
I cannot fact check Marvel movies for you. I apologize.
But
at least I got the production studio right.
Yeah. You sure did. He plays Naveen, who is a doctor. He is.
Is he?
He is. He is a doctor. I get that they're like telecare doctors.
Okay.
So there's several scenes in here of him at his job. He's at one desk. His friend, who is also a doctor, sits at the desk across.
See, when I looked up the cast, it said that this guy, what's his name, Keith Dallas, that his character was the head nurse.
Nurses don't wear jackets. They were both wearing the white white coats. Those aren't nurses. Or maybe I'm wrong.
I'll ask ChatGPT.
Ask ChatGPT. So he's a medical professional. And he works telecare with his friend who, right off the bat, I'll tell you, I don't know if you feel the same way.
I can tell right now, I don't know what you're going to say, but I think we totally disagree just on the way that you said, I'm going to tell you this. Let's see.
I feel like he could have been lifted from the story and there would have been no change to it. He is absolutely has no impact to the story whatsoever.
Usually it takes a glass or two of wine before we disagree. But no, I thought he was hilarious.
No, my least favorite part of the movie. In fact, what does my note say?
I thought you didn't take notes. Just kidding. He cracked me up. I like Keith Dallas a lot. He is funny.
Could have pulled him out of the film and nothing would have changed. Everything felt forced with him. And I stand by that. Every joke seemed forced and just removed from the whole story. Didn't care for it. But
We'll call him, he's the Boeing Yang character.
Is because he's Asian?
And he's a comedian, and he's there for the comic relief.
I know, but the comic relief should be funny. So,
I like Keith Dallas a lot.
So the story opens, Naveen is at his sister's wedding, and everybody keeps coming up to him and telling him, "Oh, you're going to be next. You're coming up next."
Which is a line that only works at a wedding, because if that was a funeral, it would have a whole different meaning.
Yes.
I'm going to do that at the next funeral I go to. I'm just going to walk up to people and be like, "You're next, buddy."
Now, the people who are coming up to him, they don't, or you get the impression they don't know he's gay. He's out to his family, but he's not out. You know, he's
out, but they don't talk about it.
Yeah, it's not talked about, but I get the feeling that he's only out to his family. Like, not all the people at the wedding knew he was gay.
And the insignificant Keith Dallas.
Yes, the person who absolutely had no right to be in this movie. But his parents love him. His mother obviously is a little more accepting of the gay lifestyle than his father, who is much more quieter about it. Because of his uncomfortability, seems like he has an issue with it. I don't know, because I didn't see they didn't mention this in the film. But from that point, from the wedding to the dinner scene, do you know how much time has passed?
No.
Yeah, 6 years. I was trying to understand this. I was reading.
Oh, wait, what dinner scene?
From the
next
dinner scene.
No, they do. They don't say 6 years later.
Yeah.
No, maybe they do. No, they do, because then, because of her talking about her marriage.
Yeah, that she's been married a while, but
it wasn't. I thought you meant from there is a dinner scene in this movie.
No, the opening dinner scene
that makes my life worth living, and I thought you meant from the time they met to that dinner scene.
From
I was
that
like,
opening wedding scene to that first dinner scene, which is the next scene. It's a 6-year gap, and there's a couple of places in this movie where it seems like things he rushed things. But it's because I didn't think that they did a very good job of showing the lapse of time. So when he proposes to him and it's dude, you went on 2 dates. But I guess that there's a time lapse there where they've been dating for a while. The montages didn't really spell that out.
I got it. I understood that time had passed, because there was a lot of, you could tell, I could tell that there's
Well,
some
you're
time
more
had gone.
insightful than I, because I could
Or
not
I
tell.
was so enthralled with this movie that I paid attention to every single little detail. If it, if you, which I don't do in other movies that other people might. Like I didn't know that guy that you like sang a song in Wicked because I wasn't paying attention.
Jonathan Bailey.
Yeah. But I paid attention to this for whatever reason. So.
I feel like that's a harder thing to miss in that movie. I feel like you notice he sings.
Well, I guess you're wicked smarter than me.
Moving on. So his sister and him have a very interesting relationship. She seems grumpy all the time. We later find out it's because she's very unhappy in her marriage.
Bitch.
But I wasn't going to use that word. But she seems very unhappy, and that makes her grouchy and not a nice person to her brother. So Naveen is in temple one day praying, and through the bright, shiny light behind him comes a man. You hear the angel music, and he he thinks he's hot. He thinks he's a good-looking guy. And that guy is Jonathan Groff. He smiles. We don't know who he is at this point, but he smiles, he prays, and then he leaves. And they end up reconnecting. This is like one of those movie things where it's like, this coincidence is going to help the story move along. He plays Jay. He's a photographer. And he just happens to be the photographer that the hospital Naveen works at. He's hired to do their badges, their photos for their badges.
Yes.
So Naveen sees him, sparks fly. Naveen is an awkward person, I guess is a good way to say that.
Yeah, I think, I just think he's somewhat emotionally stunted.
Yeah.
Which stems from, I think that, you mentioned this thing about how his parents feel about him being gay. It's not something they talk about. He tries to, and he wants this whole thing, but he feels like he's got to keep all that at bay because he doesn't feel like his parents accept it that much. So he doesn't want to. He doesn't
open himself.
He doesn't want to create any issues.
Yeah.
So I'll say something that cracks me up about this whole show is that his mother tries to connect to him and the fact that he's gay by watching Out TV, which cracks me up they went with that. Like, where is this made? Where was this movie made that's their go-to to find gay life? Because
since the clip they showed was from Dilf's show, I'm guessing it's in Canada.
Well, I mean, right. I'm guessing, right? But also there's there's Out TV, like British Out TV, which is different. But the same, but different. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, obviously I love the fact that they were playing clips from For the Love of Dilfs, which cracks me up. So that's her connection to him, is she
now,
watches these shows.
I will ask you this, because we only did the first 2 seasons. Are these clips that they made originally for this movie, or is that season 3? Because none of it looked familiar.
Oh no, it's the season we watched.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, none of them look familiar.
Yeah, I think it was season 2. Maybe it was season 1. Anyway.
Well, obviously, I did not pay attention very well for that. Because none of that looked familiar.
I'm Dilf smarter. So that was cool. But the father won't talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So if it starts to come up, then the father changes the subject to something else because he'll want to talk about his son and his son being gay and that kind of thing. So I think that's where all of his awkwardness stems from.
So while he's taking his photo, Jay asks him out, wants to go to the movie. There's and it's a real film. I looked it up. They go to see, I'm going to butcher this. I know I am. Dilwale Dulhana Le Janej.
Perfect.
Cool.
That's exactly what it is.
All right.
I will say this: when he asked him out, it was adorable, and I got the opportunity to make notes during this. Please. I made some comments about things that they said, but he obviously really likes Jonathan Groff's character, and so when he asked him out, he's like, "I'm going to go see this movie. You're welcome to join me." And his response was, I'll check my calendar, but yes." But I'll check my calendar. It was just funny.
But for those who aren't familiar with that movie, and how couldn't you be? It's according to Wikipedia, one of the biggest hits in Indian in Bollywood.
I have
history.
no doubt that next week it will be the 118th greatest film of all time.
But it is a 1995 Indian Hindi language musical romance film, released October 20, 1995. Made. I don't know how this translates into American money, but made over 102 million crore, which in today's money is 524 million crore, which is a lot, I'm assuming. Anyway, so they go and see this movie. There's a musical. It's a musical, so there's this musical scene at the end. And when they leave the theater, Jay, who Naveen seems a little weirded out that he's so entrenched in Indian culture, but Jay starts singing on the street in front of everyone, singing the song, making Naveen very, very uncomfortable.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Good scene.
It's funny because he's just playing like, no, it's fine. This is fun.
Now, I don't know if you know this because in doing my research on this film, I did find one interesting little tidbit. That scene, Jonathan Groff was only supposed to sing a couple of lines from the song, and on his own learned the entire song. So after a first couple lines, the guy who plays Naveen, that's his actual response to Jonathan Groff knowing the entire song and just continuing to sing it past the few lines he was supposed to sing it.
Adorable.
So Jay not only is a photographer, but he has like an art show that Naveen goes to see his photography. He's got, giant portraits of his work. And one of them is a picture of Jay and his adopted parents. And we see, because Jay was adopted, he was adopted by an Indian couple. And that's why he's so entrenched and understands the Indian culture, because that's how he was raised. So he sees the portrait and he's like, I could never do that. I could never just put myself out there like that. Just, a picture of me and my family for everybody to see. And it kind of lays out the differences between Naveen and Jay. So at this part in the movie, I vaguely remember, I know that they meet Jay's friends and they're all like hippies and potheads.
I feel like, I don't know where this line comes from, but it just cracked me up. So I don't know if it was like, because Jay is Jonathan Groff's character.
Jay is
okay.
Jonathan Groff.
So
Jonathan Groff is Jay.
So he's talking about how his parents were Indian, so he likes all of these Indian things. But then somebody said this. So I imagine that this is the head nurse that you don't really care for. I'm imagining he said this. Because they were bonding over the fact that they were both adopted. But the head nurse was adopted by a white family. So after Jay's like, he's like, how do you know this? He's like, oh, I was adopted by an Indian family, so I know this. And then that guy goes, well, my parents were white, so I like boat shoes and Diane Keaton. And I thought that was hilarious. I mean,
I do like
that
Diane
is pretty
Keaton.
White if you're going to throw in there Diane Keaton.
I sure do like a good Diane Keaton movie.
100%. Give me some Baby Boom any day of the week.
So he goes to Jay's friend's house and they give him... it was bread or something. What was it? Bread or cake or something?
Oh, it was something.
It was a baked good laced with marijuana. Yeah, he didn't know it was laced with the marijuana.
I thought it was cornbread. No, that would be weird.
I don't know.
Focaccia. It was focaccia.
That's what it was. It was focaccia bread. And he likes focaccia, so he's just eating the hell out of this shit and gets like really, really high, which I thought was enjoyable. That was a fun part. So we're going through their dating. He's getting to know the friends. Things seem to be going well. And then Jay realizes that Naveen, this is the part where he realizes he hasn't told his family about him.
Yeah, well, so...
Because they're at the friend's house for dinner.
Well, no, it was right before that. They're out walking and they're, holding hands and life is good. And they run into his sister's
husband, who's being very weird.
And he immediately takes his hand away from Jay and doesn't introduce him. And then he's like, oh, yeah. But the guy understands immediately that they're in a relationship, and he says, "Hey, good for you, good for you," and then they go away. So that's when he starts to realize.
And his sister calls not long after that, and he thinks he won't answer it because my sister's calling to say, "Who's that guy?" And Jay's like, "What's going on here?"
So, I know this about you because we've been friends for a long time, that you don't like to talk about work things outside of work. So this next scene after that is what prompted me to text Jeremy, because I was like, I'll make Jeremy uncomfortable because he doesn't want to talk about it, and he also hates when people cry. And so I text Jeremy and I said, I don't know how you expect me to talk about this movie without bawling. And it starts with this next scene, and it goes from this next scene until about 5 hours after the movie ends.
Yes. I will say the way that you worded that text is why I did not reply.
No, 100%.
I was like, if he's crying right now, I ain't fucking texting him. He's going to need to calm down first. I'm not talking to him if he's crying.
So they're at dinner.
Yeah.
And they're at with their friends.
Yeah.
And I guess one girl is dating somebody new, and he doesn't know everybody, and so he's like, "Oh, tell me about how you met." And so they're talking. All the couples are talking about this while Jay and Naveen are sitting at opposite ends of the table, and they're not communicating.
No.
And so somebody says, "How did you all meet?" And he goes, I took photos of him at a thing, and that was it. And then Jonathan Groff, being the person that he is like, has to say something. He goes, "Yeah, and I thought things were going great until I realized he's ashamed of me." And it was this sort of thing. And one thing that we're going to backtrack to and say, on their first date, they went out to a bar after the movie. And Jonathan Groff's character just had some drinks and just started talking about things that, how he imagines his wedding would be, and that he wanted all of this. So then I start to get emotional about it because I start to remember what's going to happen. And I'm going to cry during this podcast right now just to make you uncomfortable. No. So he goes, I want the whole thing. He goes, I want the family there. I want the big dance. I want the big wedding. I want this serious, ceremony, and then I want this fun, dancey Indian culture like party.
I don't know if we mentioned this either. His parents are dead. His adopted parents have died.
They adopted him when they were older, and they both had died.
This whole big family wedding is super important to him, whoever he marries.
So they're at this table, and then Jonathan Groff is basically saying he's ashamed of me and he doesn't want people to know we're together. And then Naveen then says, he goes, "You never say what you want. Like, why don't you just say what you want?" And so he says, "I want you. I want all of that too. I want the wedding. I want this. And he's basically just repeating everything that Jonathan Groff said on their first date.
He basically said, "I'm just an Indian boy standing in front of a white boy asking him to love me."
And they just both look at each other with tears in their eyes, and they're like, is this what we're doing?
Are we doing this? Are we going to do this?
And so they get engaged right there at the table. And it was beautiful. It was just, I loved it.
Of course, it all gets squashed because
Naveen's neurotic. And of course he's going to.
And his family doesn't know that he's engaged. So they decide, "You're going to meet my family."
Yeah, so he's going to take him to dinner with his family and say, "Oh, by the way, I've been dating this guy and we're getting
basically
married."
You're taking him to the parents' house to say, "Hey, this is the guy I've been dating, whom I have not told you is a white guy. By the way, he's not just who I'm dating. He's my fiance.
Right.
And we're getting married. Gay married, Dad."
Right. So it's a thing. Right. And so obviously for someone like Naveen, who's neurotic anyway, he's spiraling here. And he's like, in his way, trying to tell his family that this is happening, but he says that they met at that Indian religious place. So they just assume he's an Indian boy. And so he doesn't actually tell them that he's white.
And then before they get to the door, he's telling Jay basically,
don't say this.
Don't be yourself. Basically.
Yeah,
just
be
don't
yourself.
Say this. Don't do that.
I just want to point this out too, because this will come up in the conversation. Jay vapes.
Yes.
But not like in I think the traditional sense of vape. He vapes pot.
Yes.
Now, I wrote this note down earlier. I don't understand people who vape as much as his character did in the show. Like, they vape so much so, like, if they're just in a conversation with somebody, they'll vape and, like, the smoke comes out of their face and into the other person's face.
Yeah.
Why would anyone do that? Vape in private.
I will say, as somebody who hangs out with people who vape, you can't smell it. Like, it's
No.
annoying when the people I hang out with, they don't blow the smoke in my face, but it is odorless, which will come into play in
Right.
the movie. But yeah, it is.
What strikes me as weird, though, is like, I don't want something that was inside your body to go inside of mine, right?
Sure.
So don't like, I mean, if I can see the smoke coming out of your face and know it's going into mine, I'm grossed out. Like, I just
Sure,
don't want
yeah.
it. I understand we all breathe the same air.
If it's in your body, I don't want it in my body. Totally get it.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, now we're at the dinner scene.
So the sister shows up.
Oh.
She is being, using your words, being a total bitch.
He says before they go inside the house, should I kiss their feet? Because I guess it's a tradition, like it's an old
Indian tradition,
to like kiss the feet, right, of the people. So when they open the door, because he's like, no, don't do that. So they open the door, and all of a sudden the parents see Jay, and Jay's white, and then there's just this weird awkward moment,
Yeah.
and Jay doesn't know what to do, so he just goes down to kiss their feet, and the sister's like, did he just kiss their feet? Pretty funny.
So we find out here that the reason that the sister is in the mood that she's in is
Well, she's sabotaging their relationship.
yeah.
She's not
well,
being.
Also, I was going to mention what's going on in her life.
Yeah. And this is why she's doing it.
Yeah. Well,
Because she just feels like, she's mad because she feels like she didn't get to pick her husband.
Yeah.
Like her
we should also mention Naveen and her parents were an arranged marriage. They
Right.
didn't meet each other until their wedding day.
Right. And although the sister was an arranged marriage, it was her mother and this guy's mother set them up on a blind date with
Yeah.
the expectation that they would fall in love and get married. So her marriage is falling apart and she's going to leave her husband, but
Yeah.
you don't know that specifically at this moment. You could pick up on it if you're
Yeah.
paying attention, because when they ran into the husband, he's like, oh, I haven't seen her in a while. And
In
kind of a
fact, she
thing.
mentions at this dinner that they're getting a divorce.
So she's upset because she doesn't like that her brother got to pick who he wants to be with, and that the parents are okay with it, seemingly okay with it, when they made her do this thing and she didn't have that freedom. So she's bitter about that, and she's real mean about it to her brother and her brother's boyfriend.
Yeah. So the meeting is not going well at all. Naveen is being very, very neurotic and very Naveen. And Jay is he's getting beside himself. So he goes to the bathroom.
Yeah, because Naveen specifically says, we're not getting married, we're not engaged.
Yes,
and they
he
are.
mentioned that, and they are engaged.
And so
he
he's
goes
hurt.
to get a little high in the bathroom, just get a little bit in his system. I don't vape, but I guess there's like a cartridge that goes in it, and he pulled the cartridge out. And I knew as soon as he went to drop in the garbage can, it missed the garbage can. I was like, she's going to find it.
Blatant foreshadowing.
Yeah. And then he goes back out there, and things, he's like, I'm just going to leave. Very nice to meet you all. She finds the cartridge in the bathroom. Jay leaves. Naveen goes chasing after him, and he says, just go be with your family. He leaves, and then they have a big family blowout when she comes out, and she's like, look what I found. He was getting high in the bathroom. And that's when we find out the sister is getting a divorce. And so they're broken up. The end.
He leaves him. And I like this line that he says, and I didn't write it down, so it's not verbatim, but he said, I've been around enough families who didn't accept me to know when it's time to leave.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you're not, like, that was a disaster. They don't want me there. You don't want me there. I'm going to leave. And then of course, Naveen and his stupidity neurosis or whatever is like, well, I'm not going to give you a big speech to keep you.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, I know.
Peace
I'm
out.
out. And so he leaves.
Um,
And then the sister starts hanging out with him and is now like, yeah, I sabotaged that. I'm sorry. My life sucks. Your life sucks. And and she starts to become a real human being.
yeah. They come to the realization that it doesn't matter whether they understand what's going on in each other's lives. It's that they're there for each other.
Yeah.
And Naveen realizes I am ruining the best thing that's ever happened in my life. And the scene that happens in all romantic comedies where he goes to win the guy back, and he does it by reenacting the musical number.
Yeah, well, the big scene, like the scene that Jonathan Groff was singing to him in the
Yeah.
beginning, where the couple finally gets together. And it is important to note, too, that this movie they went to see, and you didn't know this for the entire movie until the sister and the brother are together towards the end, where she says, did you ever tell him how many times you've seen that movie?
That was his favorite movie growing up.
That was his favorite movie, and he believed in that love thing, but he never told anybody, and he never let Jay in and made that connection. But he loved it. He just was afraid of it because he had thought his whole life that him wanting that was wrong.
Yeah.
And so he didn't like it. So then they cut to where Jay and his friends, his best friends, are going to watch a movie.
Yeah. And they put that
movie on. And Jay, of course, is like, why are you putting
Yeah.
this movie
Why
on?
are we watching
like,
this?
You know what this movie means to me, and I just broke up with my boy. I don't like any of this. Don't do it. And then the movie starts playing.
Yeah.
And the guy turns around to sing the song,
And it's Naveen.
and it's Naveen, and it's on the screen, and it's him, and he's playing it, and then it cuts in from the actual movie to this dubbed version of this, and it's just really adorable.
Yeah.
And at the end of that clip that they're watching on the screen, out of the shadow of the kitchen comes Naveen wearing that with the
costume.
guitar and continues to sing.
Yeah. And then Ree proposes to him. And then they get married. The end. No, there's more.
Well, it is, but
Well, they go through the whole
Oh, yeah.
process of the wedding.
oh, right. It's it's almost like a whole separate
'cause
movie at
we
that point.
probably should have mentioned this. The movie is broken into chapters, so it has
Yeah.
like a chapter screen, and there's like four. You've got like the meetup, the meet the parents or whatever it's called, the proposal, the re-proposal, and then leading up to the wedding. So they finally say, hey, we're getting married. The mother, much like she does in this whole scene, I just want to say that while I do not care for the friend roles, they're like, eh. I thought all of the family were expertly cast. I thought it was, I love
the
everyone
mother
in
was
the family.
fantastic. I think Zarna Garg, she's
Yeah.
a comedian. I think when I looked up what she's been in, all she has are stand-up shows. She's not been
check that
in a
out.
show.
But all of them were fantastic. I know I've seen the father in something.
And I know I've seen the sister in something. I just couldn't. I couldn't find it.
Maybe we watched Bollywood movies when we were kids. Maybe.
And I think that at some point during this wedding planning, you find out that. I'm laughing because I remembered the wedding planner in the movie, and he was really crazy over the top.
And the mother is very aggressive in making sure that her son has a wedding just like everybody else. Don't cut any corners.
Yeah.
Because they go and look, and it was lovely. Like a ranch, the barn.
Yeah, the
It was
barn.
really pretty. And she's like, are you putting him outside because it's two men?
But then the wedding planner comes up and he goes, "How will this work for a homo wedding?" Because they think she watches Out TV and she sees gay people get married in barns, and so she wants.
I just want to say this movie missed an opportunity to have Stormy Daniels guest star.
100%.
Totally should have had her at the wedding.
So, but it's important to note that at some point during this process, the fact that Jonathan Groff or that Jay's parents didn't accept him comes into play, which is why it's so important for him to have this, have this guy's family accept him, because that's the big family he wants.
And obviously, so that's a big problem with the dad, who is not like outwardly homophobic, but he just in his silence, and he's like, he doesn't want to be a part of the planning. So they're all at the
Well, and he
the barn.
doesn't want he doesn't want the religious side of his life to come into this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is not actually true, because it comes out later what the real issue was.
So the dad is there, and he's, like I said, he's not into it at all. So Naveen sits in the car with him and basically tells him, listen, if you're not into this, you don't have to come to the wedding. I will be happy to marry Jay, and you don't have to be a part of that at all.
And he very specifically says, you may be in a loveless marriage, but
Yes.
I don't want to be. And that sparked something in his dad that upset him because everybody thinks, like the kids think their
that
parents
because
aren't in
it was
love.
an arranged marriage, that it's just a marriage of convenience and that they don't love each other. So the dad goes to see the same exhibit that Jay and Naveen, or Jay had taken Naveen to look at his photography, and he saw the portrait of Jay with his parents, and kind of put it all together that if I keep acting this way, I will not have a relationship with my kid.
But he also, I mean, I think part of it too is that, and they bring this up, why they act the way they did, or what their complaint with their son is that their son said, "I'm gay," and then disappeared from their lives.
Yeah.
And that's why she watches Out TV, is because that's how she connects to her son and his life. And she tries to say like, "Oh, I saw this in this TV show. This must be what your people like," because she doesn't know what her son wants, because he won't talk to them.
Brought them in.
And the father's upset because he's like, "You just disappeared, and then you show up and you say, 'Oh, by the way, I'm dating this guy. Oh, by the way, we're getting married,' and now boom, take it." And that guy, I think when he saw that, realized that this was his opportunity to have a family with his son that he had been missing. And so it was cool. Anyway.
Yeah. So the father invites Jay over to the house, and we find out that the dad always wanted to be a chef. He loves to cook. And they kind of bond over of cooking, and then he tells us this was my favorite scene of the whole movie, was the them talking in the kitchen, and he talks about how basically if he stepped out of what the plan was for the family, his father would beat him, and he was very abusive to him. And when he told him he wanted to be a chef, that he beat him, and just kind of laid out the plan of what his life would be, and that's what he was going to do, because I'm your father and that's what I said. And he realized that he kind of that repressing part is kind of what he put off on Naveen, and that maybe Naveen is that way because of him. And
it was a bonding moment for him and Jay, because Jay had a very similar scar, which you kind of assume what happened, but in that moment you realize that he got that scar when he came out to his parents.
Yeah. So he kisses him on his forehead and basically welcomes him into the family. And then we go to the wedding, which was a very lovely scene. The whole family did a choreographed dance number for Jay, and then invited him in, and they had a good old hoopla time. Happily ever after and all that jazz.
So endearing. And then everybody went up to the sister and said, "You're next.
You're next. You're next."
Full circle.
And she married the Asian doctor. I'm just kidding. I don't know what happened to them, but I'm sure they all lived happily ever after. The end. And I thought it was a really good movie. I really liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
I wrote some other notes here. The only thing I wrote is that just from like the transitions of the long periods of time, I apparently wasn't paying attention well enough, but didn't realize that 6 years and 2 years and all that jazz had passed by. But apparently the movie takes over a long period of time. I didn't really care for the friend. But I did love the chemistry between Karan Soni and Jonathan Groff.
Loved it.
Loved the family. I thought everybody played their part beautifully. And I would absolutely recommend it to people. 4.5 grapes.
What do you think Rotten Tomatoes was?
I feel like this is definitely a movie that like critics love. So I'll say 91 critics, and audiences, I'm sure they loved it too, 88. It's an independent film, so it's not like I don't think it would get like review bond because it's not like wide release. I'm gonna say 91 both. 91 and 91.
Critics 96.
Oh, okay.
Audience 97.
Oh, yeah. See? Well, there you go.
And I agree wholeheartedly with that. I give it 5 Five Grapes, 100%. I think it's a movie. I think as I was watching it, when I was growing up and we would catch independent gay movies,
Yeah.
they looked like movies that were movies that nobody had ever made before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're learning how to make movies as a community, and so this is the best you're gonna get, right?
Yeah.
Those are the kind of movies that we're looking at. This was an amazing movie.
Very well
It had a
put together.
Great script.
Doesn't
very
feel
well,
independent.
Doesn't feel independent. Feels like a blockbuster. And I mean, it feels more like I was going to say normal and get in trouble. More like a normal movie than
like
even
a studio picture.
Like Brokeback Mountain looks to me like like an independent film. This looked like a studio picture.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. And I think that sometimes it's about timing. Like I saw Wicked when I was exhausted. Probably not the best way to review a film. And so I had a bit of a rough week. And there were 3 events that happened that just had me so down on life. And when I went and saw this movie, it completely changed that for me. Like it's so interesting. Like even on the ride home, Dylan made some comment. He was like, "Wow, you're just a different person right now than you were 3 hours ago."
The power of cinema.
And I mean, but really, and I know that, however silly that sounds, but that's what
I'd
I love
rather
so
it sound
much.
silly than you start crying.
It's just like sometimes it reminds me of something my mom said when I was in high school and I was in a show and she went to go see it and she was like, "Thank you." After the show, I was like, "For what?" And she said, "For 2 hours, making me forget everything else." And so that's why I love film and I love TV and I love all that, because it to me, like people like to read books because they're like, "Oh, it takes me to this whole nother land and everything." For me, I like watching TV and movies because it does that for me. And this was the perfect moment. And it's about these people that when they finally learn to communicate, they realize that the situation they're in, they can make that situation whatever they want it to be. And that was a message that I needed to hear, and it was amazing, and I loved it.
Well, I'm glad that movie was transcending for you. I liked it, but it was not transcending for me.
Amazing.
I look forward to the movie that I watch that changes my entire life.
And I feel
and
like
maybe it'll be next week.
This week has really shown me that Jonathan Groff is he is just an amazing entertainer all around. So yeah.
Well,
5.
we will be back next week with another life-changing movie, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, we might see the Boeing Yang one, right?
Oh, that could be life-changing as well.
We'll see.
But until then, the cork is back in the bottle.